So the next one on the infrastructure monitoring is also very, very fundamental for infrastructure architect. Basically, it's about all the having monitoring tools. So typically, you will see the room with all the maybe 50-inch monitor. But of course, we need to avoid a tool sprawl. So don't lump everything into one screen, but we need to spread it out. Yeah. Then we need to monitor the entire stack, and we also need to understand the impact, the bottom impact versus the top impact. Then of course we need to focus on the business impact instead of the signal to noise ratio. And of course, looking to add the value. Like for example, you know exactly that this is coming from which department, they got the time spent, temps, and etc. So monitoring infrastructure architectures, basically you can use of course all the CCTV alarm and etc. But I think of course now I have visited one of the data center in Osaka, Japan. So it's quite interesting. The data center have a so-called a flood triggering and earthquake sensor. So when the earthquake come, the data center itself at the bottom of the basement, they got the absorber, like the car absorber. So it's a huge absorber that can stabilize the so-called neutralize the earthquake itself when the earthquake strike. So and also when the flood coming in, they got the gate, the so-called the wall that can raise up to a certain level so that the water level doesn't go into the building. So these are something that are also very, very interesting today, that depending on where your location is. So if your location that not exposed to the flood and the earthquake, then you don't need such a technology. Maybe you just need to look at the CTV and then in case they got fire and etc. Then of course looking at the single pane and of course the monitoring method, like you can use the SNMP, WMI, logs, and synthetic transaction. So let me just share with you about synthetic transaction. So I don't know how many of you has been using this synthetic transaction. So basically it's about simulation, about interaction with the environment as though it were client of the service itself. So basically you are simulating the whole monitoring as though there's a real client. So this one basically gives true client interaction experience, and of course operate at the presentation layer so you can see it clearly. And this actually is a powerful tool, but not used as frequently as it should be. So this is something that you can pick it up when you want to test your monitoring in terms of your data center reliability and service availability. The next one, of course, in terms of the monitoring using health model. So they got many tools that you can purchase today to monitor all your network, your server load, and also all the transaction, the throughput, yeah, some of the within traffic light colors and etc. And of course, the tool itself can give you a warning, can give you the workflow, trigger the events. Yeah. So some of the event itself, like event filtering, event aggregation, and event masking. So basically, it's about all the connectivity that can give you a visual network for you to understand about how you can make a decision at a particular in time. So these are so-called the expected job of the infrastructure architect to be able to master and model and design such a so-called environment. Service level agreement, I think this is something quite straightforward. Basically, it's about something that you need to agree. What are the things that you're going to offer? What are the things going to be delivered at a certain quantifiable and measurable manner? And of course, common terms in here like the RTO, recovery time objective. Basically, what are the recovery time before reaching breaching SLA, and the RPO, recovery point objective. So basically, the acceptable amount of data loss before breaching SLA. So these are something that are typically specified within the SLA. And of course, plan downtime for maintenance. So this is something also typically SLA we contended. The next one is about the framework, methodology, and notation for infrastructure architect. Because today is that the infrastructure architect is that it's not that someone you put them in the data center and they just wearing a thick jacket and walk around looking at all the signal and then hearing the aircon noise and etc. But more on the someone that who can design. So there must be a framework, a methodology, and also the notation for infrastructure architect to be effective, and also certain tools are needed. So framework. So in terms of the framework itself is that basically provide a practical starting point for an architecture project. So basically with the framework, we avoid initial panic, and of course systematic, because they got inside the framework there'll be a methodology. Then of course captures what others have found to work in real life. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to understand and adopt it. And of course, contain a baseline set of resources for reuse. So typically in the framework, they got set of the template or a sample that we can use. And of course, framework are key elements to architecture practice. So they allow us to do more while creating less. And of course, it is also applicable to all hardware, software, information, and business element. So everything that we talk about framework basically is giving us a jump start to get it right. And it's also proven method that somebody else has done it before. In terms of the methodology, so basically the methodology is basically there will be a task, there will be the input, there will be the step you're going to do, and there will be the output. So basically giving us a prescriptive guideline instead of we do sometime from A to Z, but we can do A, B, C, and then skip D, go to E. So method giving us a guideline on how we can complete the task. And of course, the architecture method must be evaluated for scope. So we need to know the scope because depending on how big is the scope. So if the scope rigorous, then we need to have a proper method. We need to cover more steps. And of course, the connectivity to other activities as well, because everything are interrelated and interconnected in terms of the target engagement model. So these are the summary in terms of the framework, methodology, and notation to support the infrastructure architecture with the training courses. So as I mentioned that if you are practitioners of infrastructure architect, these are some of the knowledge required. In addition of all the certification coming from Microsoft, from VMware, from Salesforce, from IBM, Oracle, etc. These are, or from IBM, these are the cost, the technical training that you need to go through if you are maintaining that platform. But here more on the the understanding the architecture like TOGAF 9.2, that covering the framework and method. This is where you need to get yourself familiarized with the TOGAF framework, with the ITIL 4.0 about framework and method, with the COBIT 2019, yeah, framework and method, and then Agile, Lean, and Scrum. So these are something that also currently are quite popular, like the SAFe framework, one of the so-called Agile, Lean, Scrum practice. Then DevOps, which is quite interesting today because of the convergence between the development and the deployment for rapid to support the Agile DevOps. Then they got ADM, is basically it's about architecture development method that is being taught in the TOGAF 9.2 courses. And also UML 2.5, like the training here called architecting software with object-oriented analysis and design. So this one UML 2.5 basically is about how can we capture the requirement, how we can design the software component, how the infrastructure component itself support connected or supporting the UML at the implementation level. Then the next one is Archimate. So Archimate is the model about the enterprise, and infrastructure architecture or technology architecture layers are also inside the Archimate. So I will show you the example shortly after this. So in terms of the TOGAF, for some of you who have not taken the TOGAF, so TOGAF basically is the enterprise architecture development methodology. As you can see here, basically is like the circle from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H back to A. So it's like the wheels. So this is what describing our transformation journey. Transformation journey is not a one-time, but it's multiple series of journey. So we have what we call it preliminary. Basically, is to understand the scope, context, and what are the key stakeholders' motivation. And also, we need to get the buy-in from the senior management. Then from there, we need to develop the architecture building block. So here in the phase A, we need to implement enterprise vision and strategy. So we need to understand what are our current direction in terms of the senior management, vision, mission, and also their driver. Then from there, we look at the business architecture. We look at the gap that exists today in our business. Then we look at the gap in our data and information and also application architecture. So we look at what the thing need to be changed in order for phase A enterprise vision and strategy to be fulfilled. Then in the phase D is where we're developing technology or infrastructure architecture. So we need to see what are the platform that we are changing in order for the application to be able to run and scale to support the business. One is the gap is done, then we develop what we call it solution building block. So we consolidate the gap, prioritizing a project. Then from there we assign the team. In the phase F, we create the Gantt chart. Then after that, in the phase G is where we execute the project. So the phase G is the project 8 months or 9 months. The phase G is 8 or to 9 months. So architect need to make sure that all the implementation is according to the architecture. Then we have the phase H, which is the managing business and technology changes. So if there is any changes, that may come in from the business or technology, how can our platform, our environment address that changes? Then this is where the so-called the content framework. So the content framework basically, if you can see here on the screen, is connecting to every phases. So like the top one, the orange one, actually covering the so-called the preliminary architecture vision and the architecture requirement. So all that are connected within the TOGAF framework itself. Then they got the business architecture, they got information system architecture, technology architecture, and at the bottom layer is architecture realization, which is actually opportunity, solution, and migration planning, phase E and F, and the implementation governance. So the red color at the bottom actually about the TOGAF phase E, F, G. So all these are the content framework that are things that we need to deliver or we can use as a jumpstart, and when we want to do the architecture. And these are the example on the so-called phase D, which is technology architecture about infrastructure architecture. What does the phase in the D itself prescribed by TOGAF? So first, we need to understand the selection of the reference model, viewpoint, and tool. So basically, here is looking at what we already have at hand. So this is the first thing first, before we do some changes. So if we need to understand our so-called our baseline. Then after that, we need to, once we understand the baseline, then we look at the target. Because the target, we know that from A, B, and C, the previous phases, what the thing that we need to change. Then after that, we understand the gap. Gap means something that we don't have, that we need to change. Then from there, we need to find candidate roadmap for our components. So what are the things that we also need to change to be implemented. Then after that, we look at the impact across architecture landscape. This is very, very important because we don't want that when we change something, other thing broken. So we need to understand the impact. Then after that, we also need to conduct a formal stakeholder review to confirm that what architecture changes that we are going to propose will be supported by the senior management, because this may impact the cost, the timeline, and the complexity. Then after that, we also finalize the technology architecture, and of course in TOGAF they got the document called architecture definition document. In short, we call it ADD. So these are something that are very, very critical. So for those of you who have taken TOGAF, this is just a refresher, just one of two slides. So in summary, in terms of the technology architecture itself, as prescribed by TOGAF, they got the objective. So what are the objectives? Objectives, we are trying to develop the target architecture. Then they have a step involved, just now the 9 step that I described earlier. Then some of the input required. So some of the input actually coming from the existing infrastructure design, and as well as coming from the new requirement from the business, data, application, and also from the key stakeholders. Then the next one of the output, what are we going to deliver in terms of the technology architecture itself. So in terms of the model, like example on the Archimate, as you can see here, technology architecture on the right hand side is at the bottom there. So technology actually supporting the business, and supporting the application, and application supporting the business. So we can see the interdependency. So if anything that we want to do upgrade in terms of the network, the router, the server, or moving to data center, another data center location, what are the impact to the application and business? You can see, you can trace it from here. And of course, all that a model using the Archimate. So the left hand side here, as you can see, these are so-called the Archimate model elements that has a few layers here. So let me just see whether I can enlarge. Yes. So some of the thing, like, you need to understand the core element. Core element mean critical to the enterprise. Then got implementation, motivation, business layer, application, and technology layer. So all the color representing a certain of the aspect of the enterprise. Yeah, so I will not be going through the detail because they got a training program to teach you how to do this. So let me give you the next one is example. So how can we implement technology architecture in the practical sense? So here we're focusing on the TOGAF. So TOGAF and Archimate are looking at technology layer. So let me share with you elements that are provided in the Archimate 3.1. So Archimate 3.1, I think some of the name, I believe you are in the infrastructure, you are familiar with it. So they got the node, they got the device, they got the system software, they got the technology collaboration, because you also need to collaborate between different network, different system, different software. Then they got technology interface, they got the path, the routing itself, and communication network. All these have a symbol, and this symbol actually you can so-called orchestrate that into the model. that connect into the entire spectrum of the enterprise. And of course, technology layer itself got the technology function. Yeah, because you can call the function like a single sign-on, you call that function, or technology process that require like you do a backup, so process 1, process 2, process 3. So you can also model that, and also technology interaction and technology event. So like event means like at the 3 a.m. you trigger a backup. So the event or technology service that you provide to others a platform or other domain, and also the artifact itself. So all these are so-called the technology layer elements that within the Archimate itself. Then the next one, of course, now we know about Industry Revolution, IR 4.0. So we are talking about equipment. So of course, all now equipment talking about robotic equipment. So Archimate also already cater into that. Then we got the facility like a storage, maybe a staging area that have intelligent sensor, etc. So also it's covered. Then after that, the distribution network, or like a railway or conveyor belt, because some of the robot, the warehouse itself is automatically distributed. And also the material itself, all the raw material that you need to have, all got the sensor. Yeah, so this is something interesting that you can also model the infrastructure architecture itself, the scope already widening because of the Industry 4.0. So these are some of the example on the data acquisition from the IoT server. So you can see here all the I give you the so-called the element name, like the location, the node, the equipment, the specialization in terms of the relationship, the aggregation, association, and facility. All these are how the data acquisition gateway itself consolidating from IoT devices, because from there actually you can decide what sort of decision. So actually sending a lot of data to the server for us to process. So all these also need to be designed properly. The next one, of course, on the infrastructure implementation and deployment view, in terms of the how are we going to interact with another system external. So here we can see that they got the firewall, they got the certain path, and then how our finance system is also connected with the bank system in the secure way. So all these are also the design using the Archimate. And of course, how the platform itself, the environment itself, supporting our application components within our enterprise. So we know that there is a dependency between this mainframe with our components. The next one is on the understanding the gap. So these are the example on the gap itself. So as you can see here, actually they got the legend that the blue one are both in the baseline and target. The red one is going to be retired or going to be decommissioned, and the green one is something that is new, right? So basically is that how can we define the new target architecture. So these are one of the way that we can do that, and it's all in the Archimate. So with that, let me just share with you the video about, I think you can relate about what they call it hellbore architecture, whether we want to keep our hellbore architecture in our environment or we want to move into the enterprise architecture that is much more lean way. So let me just share this video for you.
Why enterprise architecture? Well, here's a reason. Michael works at our company. Now, because of new business demands, he is in need of specific data. But his data is spread out over different applications. Exclusively for Michael, a developer writes a program that'll get his data from applications A, B, and C and write it to an Excel file in directory Y. That way, Michael will be able to read all the data in his spreadsheet and use it. Michael then realizes that he needs this on a daily basis. It would save a lot of time if the program ran automatically every day. Therefore, an infrastructure manager writes a batch job to set this up for him. Now, an application flow has been created, especially for Michael, which depends on a number of other applications. But Michael is not the only one who wants to improve his efficiency, so multiply this situation by a few thousand. We call this hairball architecture. Think of it as a huge hairball with fibers going in every possible direction. No one's keeping track of it, and no one has control over it. Now, imagine we have to replace a huge application because it's out of date and the supplier has said that in 2 years they'll stop the support. We have no idea what the application is connected to. It's an endless network of dependencies which were all created one at a time. and each connection made sense at the time, but the total is such a chaotic situation that it's impossible to change one aspect without damaging something else. Now that's where enterprise architecture comes in. We have to deal with the IT landscape in such a way that people have the freedom to create improvements and that there's always room for innovation. Architecture makes sure that our IT landscape is robust as well as flexible and efficient. This requires a process to keep things organized. For this reason, each new project needs a project start architecture. This is created by a project architect who is part of the project team. He or she writes a plan explaining how the total landscape will look when the project is complete. This plan includes the applications we've set up, what they do for the business, and the hardware they require. The project start architecture is evaluated by the architecture board. In this board, architects from every domain in our company work together and supervise the entire landscape. Summarized, enterprise architecture is about three things. We take a look at the existing situation. We help to develop and evaluate designs, and we create a sketch for the future so that everyone understands the direction we're heading. Architecture is about insight and knowledge. The world doesn't lend itself to being easily understood or pinned down in rules. There's no way we can know what the regulators are going to say to us 3 years from now. But what we can do is make choices which will ensure that we will be flexible, robust, and efficient in the future. Because in the end, it's all about maintaining our ability to change. That's why enterprise architecture.
So hope you can get the context about where the architecture and how the infrastructure itself can play a critical role.